how to start a podcast.
I guess we haven't actually said our names, which feels like it should be a given because, we're recording this for mostly our friends and family to listen to. But I guess we should introduce ourselves.
Well, my name is Cinema and your name is Crush.
No. That's not how this works.
We're real bad at this.
I know.
Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, welcome to Cinema Crush. Should we just introduce the idea of it?
Yeah, I guess so.
So this is a podcast that we meant to kick off last year?
Yes. That sounds about right.
Who are you?
I'm Emily Salisbury.
Wow.
I don't know if I should explain any further than that or just let people formulate their own idea of who I am.
You're my wife.
This is true.
And I'm Jacob Salisbury. I guess one thing we should mention is that we are artists.
Yeah.
That will influence our view on film. We're gonna watch films and we're gonna talk about them.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
But not necessarily a review. It's just we like movie dates.
Yeah.
And we like to share things with each other. And there are things that I want to show you that you haven't seen. There's things that you want to show me that I haven't seen. Yeah. Potentially formative movies from my childhood.
Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. I mostly just have Barbie movies for you.
I'm excited about that.
And you haven't seen several of the formative dinosaur movies that I saw in my youth.
It's true.
So we're going to have to go through some of those.
But I guess we'll talk about what's going on this week in our lives.
Okay. Well, this is a good one to start with, I guess.
Yeah.
We've had a lot.
Well, we had kind of a theme this week for both of us.
Yeah.
Because you just got a tattoo.
I just got a tattoo that is, I guess, film themed. If I were to assign the lesser version of the story to it, because it's themed after The Hobbit. Mostly because it's Bilbo's sword Sting from The Hobbit. But I mostly base it off of the books because that's the one that I associate with the most.
That's the good one.
That's the good one.
And I don't have any tattoos yet, but tomorrow I'm getting my first one.
And also associated with the topic of this podcast.
Yes, it's based around the hero's journey circle, if you've ever seen that diagram of the known and the unknown and the hero and the trials and all that. But it's gonna be sci-fi fantasy themed, and I'm very excited.
We'll have to include some kind of resource that people can go to learn more about that, because it's a pretty interesting literary theory. I think so, anyway.
It's pretty cool. I'm sure I will talk about it on this podcast multiple times.
Yeah.
Because the things that I like to read in my spare time are storytelling theory books.
Yeah. I mean, I just bought one for you, so I shouldn't say yeah like that, like it's a problem.
Yeah, you're encouraging me, if anything. But
yeah.
We like good story. We think it's important that people choose to watch good things.
Yeah.
That's being said, I do have some terrible movies I'm excited to show you.
Uh-huh. I mean, I think both of us being visual artists, having the concept of storytelling combined with the concept of creating something that is visually entertaining and satisfying are the two things that we sort of care about the most when we watch movies. But sometimes I have to separate the critic part of myself from my brain and just enjoy a movie that is fun. Because otherwise I would burn out completely and never want to watch another movie again.
Yeah. And I think we both have different ways of ranking these films for us personally, but we'll talk about that after the film we're going to watch today. And today we're watching Everything Everywhere All at Once, which neither of us have seen.
We could probably give a little credits for the movie. Pause for Google, because I would like to name drop the director and some of the important people that worked on the film.
Everything Everywhere All at Once came out in the current year we're recording this, 2022. It is directed by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong.
That sounds right.
So the double Daniels.
Yeah, I guess that's
what a
true.
team.
Wow.
It's distributed by A24, which is one of my favorite film companies ever. There's a lot of films that they've made that we really like.
At some point, we'll have to review a few of them, because I know we're both excited to talk about movies like The Green Knight, because they're movies that I think don't get a lot of recognition, especially not as much as this film has. But A24 does a lot in terms of breaking film norms and making really artsy stuff.
They're like S tier for me if I had a tier list of film studios.
Yeah.
But this is a really interesting film because A24, they do all right at the box office, but I feel like this one got a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Honestly, via word of mouth, which is kind of the coolest stories about like movies that do well at the theater. Is just like, oh, did you see this? And unfortunately, we missed it at the theater, and I feel so bad. But we're gonna watch it now and talk about it.
We bought it, so we're still giving them our money.
But I've heard it compared to the other multiverse movie that came out this year, Doctor Strange. But apparently it's much, much better.
Yeah, which I know I've said before that it's unfortunate that, you know, I think this movie makes strides because it's really popular and it has a predominantly Asian cast.
Yeah.
But I guess to your point, the fact that word of mouth has been the thing spreading it so all over among so many social circles is partially because people are comparing it to Doctor Strange. So, thank you, Marvel, for making a movie that was worse than an A24 movie, which is probably most of them. At the same time that, you know, both movies were similar concepts.
Yeah, that happens in industry sometimes. There'll be like a theme that more than one company will kind of rest on, and sometimes it's on purpose and sometimes it's accidental, and I feel like this time around it was completely by accident.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't think they cared about what the other person was doing.
Yeah, because usually, especially in animation, you'll have a lot of studios all going for the same theme. Like a couple of years ago, there were all like the Bigfoot Yeti movies, and it was kind of like a race to see who could make the most money in the box office.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, the ones that I liked the best did not do as well. But
rest in peace, Laika.
that aside, I'm really excited to watch this movie. I haven't really read any reviews of it at all. I've just heard overwhelmingly positive feedback.
I've intentionally kept away from it as much as I can because I want to be surprised and I want to be blown away because everyone I've talked to says it's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I mentioned this earlier. I'm an animator, and one thing that is really cool about this film is that their visual effects team is 5 people.
Oh.
So, we'll have to see what they come up with, but I hear there's a lot of visual effects in it, all very cleverly done. And like, if you've ever watched the credits of a film, you know that like animation visual effects has like dozens of names, sometimes probably 100 names or more on bigger budget stuff.
Yeah.
So to have the idea of having only 5 people for a feature film is wild.
Especially one that probably, I mean, I've only seen maybe a teaser, and this definitely appears to be a film that requires a lot of visual effects. So I'm curious to see how they do it. And also, you know, I'm always a practical effects fan. I always root for use of practical effects wherever possible. Or practical and VFX in concert with each other. So I'm really curious to see how this movie looks, quite frankly. So.
I mean, it's A24. I have full faith in them. But should we get into it?
Yeah, let's grab some refreshments and get to the movie.
All right. We will see you in a bit.
On the other side.
Intermission time.
Hey folks, Jacob here with the intermission, the middle part of the podcast where you get to chill with me. If you like what you hear and you want to support our podcast, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Cinema Crush Pod. That's at Cinema Crush Pod, all one word. We'll be posting updates there and sharing things that we love. So if you have questions or feedback, you can tweet at us, DM us, comment on posts, or respond to stories that we put out. We'd love to hear from you. We plan on publishing episodes bi-weekly, so look for us again in 2 weeks with a new episode. And if you know anyone that likes this kind of content and you want to share it, please do. It helps us a lot. We really appreciate you for listening and giving us a chance. But that's all the announcements I have for this episode, so let's get back to the podcast for our review and reflection.
And now, on with the show.
No, I feel like something changed about you the moment you hit record. I don't know what it is.
I'm not your husband. I'm from another multiverse.
Oh no. Is it the hot dog fingers?
You have to pour the water down your pants.
Oh. I don't think I'll be doing that. I'm not.
You're the chosen one. You have to save the universe.
I'm going to reject
Pour
that.
your coffee.
Hero's journey.
Down your pants.
Rejection of destiny.
I'm going to go put this Apple Pencil up my butt.
Don't do that.
I have to.
No.
It's the only way.
Please don't. We don't need to bring the movie themes into real life. It wasn't a suggestion. So Hot Dog Fingers the movie.
Hot Dog Fingers the movie. My favorite movie.
Yeah. I think I'm just going to be stuck on that. That's going to haunt my dreams. It's so good, but so bad at the same time.
I hate it, and I love it. I love that I hate it. What a film.
Yeah.
I had fun watching that.
I think for context purposes, we watched the movie last night, and we were going to record our review / discussion of it after we watched it, but I think this film is just too much to process. So it's the next morning.
We slept on it.
I've had coffee. Jacob has had a morning nap, like an old person, and
I am an old man.
I don't think I'll ever be ready to talk about this movie in a good way, but here we are. Wow. Everything, everywhere, all at once.
What an accurate title.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also a title that lays out the 3 acts of the movie.
Yeah.
Right there in front of you, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, for such a complex idea, it's presented in such a clear way.
To a point.
To a point. Like, it's confusing, but, like, the multiverse itself is confusing. But, like, with the visuals and the sound design all combined together, I think they did about as well as they possibly could have.
Yeah.
But it's what I expected, but also not what I expected.
Yeah.
Because, like, at the end of the day, it's kind of just about a family and, like, family drama and communication.
Yeah.
And relationships.
It's not what I expected from a sci-fi, and I mean that in the best way possible. Because a general overview of the movie, and I think, you know, in future episodes when we watch movies, there's some movies where I think giving a general spoiler-free review at the beginning will be important. I don't think you could spoil this movie, because it's so complicated.
It's
and
bonkers.
All over the place, and, like, explaining the fact that it's this heartfelt family drama, but also a wild, chaotic sci-fi.
With dildos and butt plugs.
You can't give a good summary that really gives you every twist and turn. So I think, you know, if you're worried about spoilers listening to this, don't worry, because I'm sure when you watch the movie, you will notice things that we did not notice, and I will definitely be watching this movie more than once for all of the nuance and references. It's packed with references to things that I don't even know. I would love to see a compilation of everything that this movie references.
Yeah. There's... I guess, should we talk about the actors a little bit?
Yeah, mostly...
The acting is amazing.
Yeah, because we have the main characters of the movie are, like, pretty well known, I feel like, especially, like, Michelle Yeoh. Like, she is in so many movies.
Lots of things.
She is amazing. She's a goddess.
I think the thing I know her best from, at least when I was a kid, was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't grow up with kung fu movies. And I definitely seen her in things. I think probably the thing that I saw her in first was maybe Star Trek. But
who's she playing Star Trek?
I don't even remember. I just remember that she's in it. I think she's in one of the movies, but I might be wrong. Let me fact check that, because I'm curious. Let's see. She is in... Star Trek Discovery.
Oh. She's in one of the new ones.
So I must have seen her in, like, a trailer or something like that. But she's in so much other stuff that, like, it's hard not to have seen a movie with Michelle Yeoh in it. She plays Evelyn, the main character, who's this sort of tired, messy laundromat owner who doesn't want to be in the position that she's in, and is in the middle of trying to file her taxes, which I think is a relatable experience for anyone.
Especially a business owner.
Especially a business owner. And she's married to Waymond, who is played by Ke Huy Quan.
Who I love. He's my favorite.
He's amazing.
He's the best.
Probably most well known for his childhood acting roles.
Which I didn't even realize until today when you told me, but...
But it totally makes sense. Like, the moment I saw that he was in the Goonies...
And I can hear it now. I can hear it now in his voice, too.
Of course,
because he's the inventor kid in the Goonies. He's the kid from Temple of Doom.
Indiana Jones. Yeah. So, yeah, he's great.
But he's so sweet.
His character is the heart of the movie. And I really loved his performance. It was very, very genuine and heartfelt. I guess he's also in X-Men? As what?
Is he Toad?
No, he's just additional crew.
Oh.
No big part. Yeah, but Data in the Goonies, Short Round in Indiana Jones. And then we have, Jamie Lee Curtis as Deirdre, who is the epitome of, like, I feel like there are two things you picture when you picture the IRS as a person. And one is, like, the police coming to your door to arrest you for doing your taxes wrong. And the other thing is the office person who is Deirdre. This, silver-haired bob, mustard yellow shirt,
wrist
thick
brace.
glasses, wrist brace. Very, like, plain potato chip, bland personality. But takes her job very seriously. And maybe she's a little funky because she wears bright red nail polish. Maybe, she's got a life outside of work. But I think all of these characters, they're just so good in the way that they tell little stories about them based on their environments and their outfits.
And that's the thing that I think really sets this movie apart from other movies that try to do this big concept stuff, is because it's anchored by all these well-defined characters.
Yeah, very strong characters.
Like, the cast overall is not that big.
No.
It's a pretty tight cast, but because there's multiverses, they play alternate versions of themselves, so, like, you're always seeing the same actors over and over, just doing different things.
Right.
And that really helps.
Yeah. It would be wrong of me not to mention James Hong.
James Hong.
As the grandfather. He is
I was so...
stealing the show.
I didn't know he was in this, and I was so giddy when he showed up, because he's been in so many things. He's, like, any, like, old... I don't know what decade it would have been. 50s, 60s, like, kung fu movies. Like, he's in so many films, but if you're into animation, you probably are familiar with Poe's dad.
Yeah, Kung Fu Panda.
You know the voice. Like, the voice is...
He's in it. He's in everything.
He's instantly recognizable.
Yeah.
And he plays...
Evelyn's father.
Evelyn's father, this old man.
Just... He's just the epitome of, like, an old
Asian man.
Old Asian man. He's got a coffee pot on the back of his chair.
Yeah.
His wheelchair that he rolls around in. He's great. And the practical effects makeup on the grandfather, I think, was really good, because just the epitome of grandpa. The other main character is Stephanie Sue, who plays Joy, Evelyn's daughter, and also Joe Buttigieg, who is our sort of main villain question mark. And I say villain question mark without fear of spoiling any plot for you, because I feel like it's you learn pretty soon into the movie that things are not what they seem in terms of the conflict that's being presented to you. Nothing ever presents anyone as, like, the main villain of the story. I think the characters sort of talk about each other like they are, but I think as a whole, the story that's being told never places one person as the villain. Which, talking about the plot of the movie, I don't know if we want to, like, just lay that out.
I mean, I feel like if you're this far into the podcast, you've probably seen it.
You've probably
Go watch this movie. It's so good. Stop listening right now. Pause it. You should have done this before when we said we were going to go watch the movie, because you should also go watch the movie. But if you haven't yet, stop it right now. Go break into a Target and buy this movie.
And,
wait, you breaking in to buy it?
Well, I mean, if they're listening to it at night or something, I'm assuming they can't really get
Target's
it.
open pretty late.
Yeah, I guess. But still, go break into a Target. Target can afford it. And steal this movie. Live your best multiverse life, creating chaos in the world. Watch it, and then come back and listen. I'll give you a moment to pause. Okay, welcome back. We're going to talk about the movie. You've seen it. So let's talk about
what's going on. Yeah. I guess taxes is really the center plot of this.
Yeah, honestly. And I don't blame Evelyn for, breaking into a multiverse of chaos because of taxes, because I feel like I wish I could do that.
That's sometimes. A justified reason, if any.
Yeah.
I think we've all wanted to punch an IRS person in the face.
Yeah. I wish I could perform flawless kung fu moves.
But yeah,
to avoid paying my taxes.
The action is so well planned, so well choreographed.
Which doesn't surprise me.
The fanny pack fight is the best.
So hilarious. Every fight scene in this movie is choreographed so well, and like it's like a dance. Like the characters are fighting, but they're also like telling a story with each other, and like the facial expressions are lingered on, and it's not just a fight for the sake of being a fight.
Yeah.
Marvel.
Yeah, I was gonna say Marvel doesn't know what they're doing.
No.
Shang-Chi came pretty close.
That's because of the director.
Yeah, but like, come on, action movie directors, you gotta learn a few things from this.
I'm also surprised to see a movie like this. I guess not surprised, but I'm glad to see a movie like this come from the Daniels, because as you know, one of your favorite movies, Swiss Army Man, was directed by them.
Yes. Also A24.
Also A24. Not every A24 is directed by them, but notably Swiss Army Man.
I love that film. We'll probably watch it at some point.
Definitely. And I don't want to compare the two too much, because they're definitely
so different.
Stories, but I think it's interesting to see them make a movie about somebody isolated and kind of living in their own fantasy world, which has its own lack of boundaries. And then to see this movie that has the potential to be so chaotic, and it has so many character storylines all interweaved together, and yet they keep it contained and tell such like a well-rounded story. Like I really don't feel like I'm lacking anything in this movie. But also, it's hilarious, just like Swiss Army Man. It does kind of have that like teenage boy humor a little bit. People are slapping each other with dildos and fighting to shove a butt plug up their butt. It's hilarious.
I can't top that fight. I can't think of a single fight scene that'll be better than that.
Can I also just say, as a character, this is going completely off topic, Joe Butapaki was my favorite character. I really loved like everything about that character, from the visuals to the motivation to like the acting was so good.
Yeah. I have to say, she is equally hilarious as she is terrifying.
Yeah.
And that's such a bizarre combo.
Right.
Because, like, she just flips through multiverse versions of herself at will, and just, like whatever she's holding, like, it'll just be, like, whatever. I'll just grab it from another universe. Like,
yeah.
Like, oh, you have a gun? Nope. It's a vape now.
Yeah. Or, oh, we're gonna fight? No. Actually, we're gonna salsa dance together. And then you're going to get shot a bunch of times. And then I'm going to get shot. But it's okay. It's just organic ketchup.
Also, I'm a golfer now.
Yes. I would love to see like a lineup of all the costumes.
Oh my gosh. I can't imagine the planning process behind shooting this. There's so many costume changes. There's so many makeup changes. There's so many hair.
Every like I was just watching the whole time thinking about like every costume that's chosen feels intentional.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, there's a meaning behind it. Like, the chaotic, all over the place makeup outfit that she wears at the very end, right before, like, her and her mom have the whole bagel conflict, and, like all of her, like, her makeup is, like, crooked on her face, and her hair is everywhere, and she's got, like, 4 different pieces of clothing all sewn together, just, like, showing the utter chaos that is her emotional state at that point. And then to completely flip and change gears to a completely normal, completely average outfit, and then we get this, like, beautiful emotional resolution to the movie. Because we don't need the chaotic outfit anymore to, like, punctuate her state of mind. We just need it to be quiet and calm and tie up a family movie in a nice, peaceful way. Like, I really loved that. And I love the contrast between Evelyn and Joy, and, like, their costume choices, and, like, their acting was really good. And yeah, I don't know, I love those 2 characters. I always love, like, a mother-daughter relationship. It kind of reminded me of Turning Red, that movie, where Turning Red is from the daughter's perspective, feeling like she's being kind of, like, drowned by her mother. I feel like this movie is about a mother feeling like she's losing her daughter and trying to keep her there. So it's, like, the reversed point of view. And I almost, like, want to watch these movies back to back because they remind me so much of each other.
I think I want to talk about the visual effects themselves.
Yeah, because we were kind of discussing that before the movie, because, as you said, the team was very small.
There's, like, 5 guys. There's 5 main visual effects artists. I think they had a bit of help on some of this stuff, because there are shots in it that are complex, and there's some that are simple but done very well. And watching through the movie with my mindset as an animator, I can definitely see how it is entirely possible to do with such a small team. Like, if you take it shot by shot and just day by day and break it down, I think they're all very doable. I think the hardest thing would just be the planning and scheduling of all of it. Like, I'm curious to know how much of this movie was storyboarded before they started shooting, if at all. Because, like, live action movies, sometimes they'll use storyboards for complex scenes, sometimes they won't use hardly any storyboards at all. Depends on the director. Parasite by Bong Joon-ho was completely storyboarded before he ever picked up the camera.
Yeah, like, basically a full comic.
Yeah, which is abnormal for a live action film.
Yeah. So,
because this is so complex, I am genuinely curious to know how much of Everything Everywhere All at Once was planned out in advance, into what detail visually, because obviously you have your script, but I feel like there are instances where you need to have that extra visual planning, because there's shots where they're flipping between multiverses and you have to line those things up perfectly, and there's stuff you can do in post for that, but, like, whenever she's, like, looking at the camera and it's just, like, rapidly flipping through all these different universes and costumes and lighting and hair.
Yeah, I feel like you have to have some way of planning that out ahead of time.
Like, is that just a day where you just, okay, put this costume on, come sit in front of the camera. Yeah. Okay, now go put this costume on and come sit in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And then there's the Everything Bagel.
Yeah.
This hilarious but frightening doom existential bagel that I feel like that's what my anxiety looks like.
Just this pulsating
pulsating everything bagel.
Yeah.
And that really is kind of a central, like, part of Evelyn, is, like, it's not just that there's these multiverses, she's got so many things to juggle in her life, and I feel like we all feel like we have everything everywhere all at once going on.
Yeah.
In that mental state of things are spiraling out of control and you're just trying to latch onto and ground yourself in one thing and you can't focus.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I think the opening scene of this movie really presents that idea so perfectly because, like, there's so much to follow in the opening scene of the movie because they're introducing all of the conflicts that this family is going through, from the taxes that are littered all over Evelyn's desk in different piles where, like, you're sure she knows what they mean, but I don't think she actually does. And then Wayman comes up and, like, is talking to her about this party that's going on and, like, this Chinese New Year party that's going to happen. And also, you know, at some point we're presented with the idea that he has filed for divorce and, like, is going to present that to her. And her father is visiting for Chinese New Year, and so she's dealing with him, and his, like, he's elderly, he's not doing well, and she has a complicated relationship with him. Her daughter is being uncooperative. She doesn't approve of her relationship because of social norms. And on top of all of that, you have this laundromat that they live above that has all of these chaotic characters in it of itself.
Right. You have to attend to the customers and
and their problems, and they all want her attention, and everyone wants her attention. And then we're given this just, like, quiet scene of her turning around and looking at this Bollywood movie that's playing on the TV, and, like, how much she's longing for that. And I think it's just, like, a perfect way to introduce all of these conflicts and all of these things that these characters want without having to spell it out. I think this movie does a great job of show not tell.
Yes, it lives off of that concept, and it's so good. Yeah. I'm sure there's plenty of things that I missed.
I know. I need to go back and watch it again. I think watching it from the, like, with the intent of talking about it later definitely gave me a better perception of all of the things that happen and all of the foreshadowing and all of the emotional turmoil that these characters are going through. But I just want to watch it again and just enjoy everything that happens, because there's not a moment where it lags. Like, it's constantly going and pulling you through.
Yeah. Good pacing, good dialogue.
Yeah.
One of the things I really appreciated too was the, like, bilingual nature.
Yeah.
Of their household, because that's how it is when you speak more than one language, is like you'll borrow things from both.
Yeah, to explain a concept that is otherwise difficult to explain in the other language.
Because they'll switch, like, mid-sentence to English.
Yeah.
To say something and then switch back.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool.
I love to see that kind of representation in movies because there are so many people that are immigrants, that are, like, multi-generational immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
But also, Evelyn is a first-generation Chinese American because her parents are from China. And so she's struggling with the fact that her daughter is completely, like fluent in English, but is losing the Chinese. And she is, like, pretty much... Evelyn herself is pretty much bilingual, but still has some struggle understanding the English. And her father totally doesn't understand English. So you have this, like, a generational sort of, dilution from, like, their heritage to becoming immigrants and learning to adapt to where they're living. And yeah, I was thinking that too during that opening scene where they're flipping back and forth between their, native language and English. because it just felt it helped concrete it as a more realistic scene for me.
Felt like a real family.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite and least favorite multiverse.
That's really hard. Because if I had to first instinct for least favorite would be the hot dog fingers. But it's also maybe my favorite because, like,
it's the most bizarre one.
Yeah, I'm lost for words, like, because it's so bizarre, but it's also so, like, emotionally heartfelt, and, like, Evelyn and Deirdre have this tender relationship, and it's used as this, like, pivotal turning point in our main universe, too, because Evelyn has this realization that, like, each multiverse has its own strength, even the weird ones, and is like, oh, yeah, I can't use my hands because of this universe, but I sure can use my feet. And so we're given all of this context, like, dropped throughout the movie as she visits that universe. And I really loved how they used that. It was very unexpected, but...
Yeah, that's the one, too, where, like, the Alphaverse watching her was just like, where did she go?
We've never seen this before. Hot dog fingers? Oh, no.
Like, she jumps so far off the beaten path.
Like, there's so much context given to that universe, too. Like, from the moment that they show, like, the fact that this, like, species of chimpanzees with hot dog fingers defeated the species of chimpanzees that would have otherwise evolved into humanity. Like, it's really amazing to me. Like, that's the turning point that created this.
Yeah, that scene was also somewhat spoofed off of the, 2001 Space Odyssey.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of movie references in this. There's, like, Kill Bill references, there's Crouching Tiger references, there's, probably one of my favorites, Ratatouille.
Ratatouille.
Ratatouille. Ratatouille's the best.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
I think that's my favorite one.
I watched an interview with the Daniels, and the main inspirations, and this is why I know I like this movie, because they listed The Matrix, Kill Bill, of course, Groundhog Day, and It's a Wonderful Life, which, as you know, is one of my favorite Christmas movies.
That all checks out on the list of things that happened in this movie.
Yeah, it's got that like melancholy flavor of, like, this is the life that I could have had, but that I made choices and now I don't have. It very much feels like It's a Wonderful Life, but in modern day. And I love that they kept the storyline up. Even though I've seen what can happen and I have the chance to choose a life that seems better to me at the moment, it's better for me to choose the life that I have right now.
Well, that and, like, she makes the choice in each of her lives to be with the people that make her happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's basically a story of somebody who feels like they've made all of the wrong choices in their life and has been told by people that, like that's a pretty constant element, is like
you are the worst version of yourself.
Alphaverse Wayman says it. He's like, you are the worst version of Evelyn, which is why you have the most potential, because you can access all these other versions of yourself that are better. But, like, even her like, father and, like, everyone around her is just like, this is the worst version of you. And she says, but that's because I've been holding myself back. Like, I think they do a really beautiful thing with showing all of these moments of her life where she feels like she made the wrong choice. Right at the beginning, it shows her, like, life path while she's in the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, all of those choices that she made that led her to this point. But then later we get to see those moments from her own perspective instead of from an outsider perspective. And she realizes that all of these moments were actually moments of happiness because of her husband. She just couldn't see it that way at the time, but now she can. And that's why she chooses to stay instead of releasing herself into oblivion.
Yeah. Well, and the ending scene is so powerful too, because she opens her third eye.
Yeah.
Which is the googly eye.
Yeah, yeah.
That she sticks on her forehead. And it was so much more powerful than Doctor Strange opening his third eye.
Yeah, that was kind of creepy. I would love if Doctor Strange just slapped a googly eye between his eyebrows and was like, "This is my third eye."
He's just like, "I'm enlightened now."
Yeah. That would be if Taika Waititi directed Doctor Strange. That's what we would get, is that energy.
Yeah.
I wish that's what it could be. I feel like we're on the precipice of comparing Doctor Strange to this movie now. So I feel like we should just bite the bullet and get it out of the way.
Here's the thing. I wanted Doctor Strange to be weirder for all the hype that they had around it. It was pretty tame in terms of like multiverse hopping.
Yeah. Disney has this weird phobia of like getting weird
or trying new things.
Yeah. And I think that's just like, I'm constantly disappointed because they never go weird enough.
The industry is starting to change in animation. I'm seeing more experimentation from other studios, not as much Disney, but like Sony's experimenting. Who made the Bad Guys?
Bad Guys is
that Universal?
I don't remember. Universal, yeah.
Yeah. That one was really fun stylistically. I don't know. I think Disney has kind of lost their touch in making meaningful content.
Yeah.
Which is like the complete opposite of what A24 has been doing with their films.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that this film was so successful. Because I was looking up the box office.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at.
This is their most financially successful film.
Yeah, like that. I was just reading it took over Hereditary, which I feel like is still being talked about. I still haven't seen Hereditary because I'm not normally a horror person, but it is a movie that I'd like to see just based on what people have said about it. Because I love good storytelling, and I feel like A24 is always really good at storytelling, even if the movie doesn't do so well. Like I know we probably mentioned already, The Green Knight. I'd like to review at some point. Maybe I'll bring that movie because, I really love like Arthurian legend and everything that it's based off of. And it's also just a really beautiful movie, but it's not the most like exciting. And I think this movie does so well because it's fast-paced, it's action-filled, it's hilarious, and also heartfelt. I saw, I was reading a New York Times article by A.O. Scott called Everything Everywhere All at Once Review. It's messy and glorious if you want to look it up. And he used the term genre anarchy in the review.
That's accurate.
And I was like, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of films coming out lately that are really good, but like I couldn't pin down what they are in terms of genre. Like I kind of felt that way about Parasite too, because that one is like hilarious, but also terrifying and like psychological, and like it's a thriller, but it's also a family drama
and a comedy.
And this movie felt very much the same. Where it's just like there's a lot of stuff packed into one movie, but it's still done so well.
It's the Everything Bagel.
It's the Everything Bagel. It's an Everything Bagel movie. I want to talk about the rock scene.
Yes. Beautiful, beautiful scene.
Because
no dialogue, only text.
To to that point, there was supposed to be dialogue. But
yeah, and I was so glad they took it out.
Yeah, that was, I think in an interview I heard that was Michelle Yeoh's recommendation. She's like, it doesn't need dialogue. And so you have this whole scene that's just two rocks sitting on a cliff with subtitles talking to each other.
And it's so sweet.
It's funny and it's like heart-wrenching and I don't know. I feel like that was the turning point.
That's the most emotional conversation in the film.
They're rocks. There's nothing else. And like I think that every single scene in this movie is like there's no fluff. Every scene is intentional. Every line of dialogue is intentional. It's just really well done.
Yeah.
And like I love the I guess moral of the story being just like to be kind to people, because I think that was kind of Evelyn's problem, was that she like was pretty self-centered and she couldn't see anyone else in her life, and like it took going through all this multiversal chaos to see that like everyone around her was also in pain, but like she still wanted her family to be together. And I think it's a line that Wayman says, but he says, be kind, especially when you don't know what's going on. Because, in this movie, like...
Yeah. How relevant to today.
How relevant. But, like, even... I think that's a pretty common theme, is, like when you talk about bullying, you don't know why somebody's doing that. You don't know what they're going through that's causing them to lash out like that. And I think that's a pretty pivotal moment for Evelyn as a character to see, like, oh, this is why, Jobu Tabaki is behaving this way, because she's in pain. And it's because of me. And so she needs to resolve that. And also lets her go. She's like, oh, I'm the one that's hurting you. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to let you go.
Yeah, like, she can't force her to listen. And that's the action that makes her listen.
Again, not unlike Turning Red. Similar theme. But I think that you're talking about sort of similar generational sort of interactions and generational trauma within those two movies, just because of the family dynamics that are being examined by the story. So I think that makes sense.
Well, should we give it our review?
Yeah. You go first.
Okay, so the way that I plan on reviewing on this podcast is I have a scale of 5 to -5. 5 is great, like the best you could do. 0 is the worst you can do. Negatives are bad enough that it's enjoyable. So a -5 is a terrible movie, but extremely enjoyable. Yeah. Which I think I have some films that I will present to you that will be in that range.
So bad it's good.
So bad it's good. I give this a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, I agree. I think in terms of rating systems, mine will be far more chaotic. But I give it 2 hot dog thumbs up for this movie. I will not ever erase the image of hot dog figures out of my head. Just like I will never forget this movie. I will watch this movie over and over again. It's so good. 2 hot dog thumbs up.
2 hot dog thumbs up. You heard it here. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you for the next one.
Thanks again for dropping in, and we hope you've enjoyed the evening as much as we've enjoyed having you here. Till next time, Please drive carefully. And good night now.